Ingonyama Trust could pay back millions in rent it has collected illegally from residents staying on land managed by the trust on behalf of King Goodwill Zwelithini. Some occupiers of this land say they have been exploited and reduced to tenants where they have lived for generations. They have now filed a court application challenging the trust and its board.
Ungiphatha kabi ukuthi njalo ngonyaka fanele kube nemali engikhokhayo endaweni vele engisalelwe kuyo kodwa manje ngifana nesiqashi.
What Ingonyama Trust is doing is illegal because people they did not consent.
Kunobugebengu Ingonyama Trust.
Cha mina ngifisa ukuthi imali yami ibuye.
This is Bamshela in Tongat, north of Durban. 52-year-old Zakhele Nkwankwa from here had always wanted to build his own house on the land where generations of his family have lived. However, he now finds himself in a difficult situation and he blames the Ingonyama Trust.
Baba ngicela usitshele ukuthi inkinga yakho neNgonyama Trust board yaqala kuphi?
Ngangifuna ukwakha umuzi. So ngifuna ukuthi mhlambe ngikwazi ukuthola noma ibond lapha ebank ngifuna ukwakha umuzi ngithola ibond and then kwathi manje ngihambe ngithole iPTO khona lezi ukuthi ipermit to occupy bakubiza ukuthi iPTO le. So lapha ngixhumane nobani fanele ngixhumane nenkosi kodwa ngiqale enduneni ngizama ukuyichazela lesimo sami ukuthi no lapha ebank induna bafuna incwadi ezongigunyaza ukuthi bakwazi ukunginikeza lekho ngikufunami ngifuna ukuthola ibond ebank.
He was given forms to fill in, which he then handed to the local municipality. He was told to expect a phone call from officials in Pietermaritzburg who would come to measure the size of his land.
Hayi bafike nangempela sihlola indawo bahambe kuyona base bethi kumina ke khona abanye abazofika abazokwazi ukuyimaka ke manje ke. Kwathi bese kufika laba kuthatha isikhathi futhi mhlambe 3 months or 5 months bafike ke laba sebefake lezi ngubo lezi zaseyiqiwini yabona abantu abaseyiqiwini abaqoke lezi ngubo zaseyiqiwini bafika bangeyimoto enkulu nje hayi bafika baphethe into njenge camera njenge cellphone ngoba basasihamba nabo sishona lezansi sifike sime ekhoneni siphinde sime kwelinye ikhona ngale bese siyabuya sizekhaya basibethi kulungile ke baba ke uzolinda ke i-call bazokutshela uzofika kunendawo kodwa lento yeni le ePTO ayisekho senizongena ngaphansi kohlelo lobulengonyama nalapho futhi ngathuka ukuthi Ingonyama Trust.
He says eventually he got a call from the Ingonyama Trust advising him that his documents were ready for collection. But what happened at the trust's offices left him confused.
Ingene khona bamkwakho wena bamkwakho ethi mina bamkwakho ayinto zakho baba zilungile suku intombazane iye ngale office nama ibe ngalento le ithe bamkwakho imali yakho ongaka kanunendawo engaka kanti wena imali yakho zeyikhokha u3500 nemali ngishaya uvalo kithi ngikhokhela intombazane ithi indawo yakho baba enkulu kabi usoyenza indawo enkulu kangaka intombazane le ebhalwe lapha phansi hawu ngiphume phandle ngiye kunkosikazi ngifike ngimtshele nkosikazi lezi zinto lezi bathi fanele ngikhokhe imali engango 3000 nemali
He says he found it problematic that the documents weren't written in isiZulu for him to fully comprehend what he was getting into. And on top of this, he claims there wasn't time to read them before signing. He was also informed that going forward, he would be expected to pay an annual fee of 3,500 rands, which would increase by 10% every year. Essentially, this would make him a tenant.
Angithi uma ngithola iPTO ngangenzela ingane bebengichazile eqaleni ukuthi ingangenzela unkosikazi mengifa unkosikazi angasala phazamiseke kufika omunye umuntu wakankwakho athi le ndawo le wena uyazi umsela unkosikazi uyahlukumezeka noma kanjani. So ukanti menginento ephathekayo kanje na iPTO iyaphatheka ngeke unkosikazi uzohamba aye enkantolo afake icala enkantolo wena umulwa wena uza kuyeka kanjalo ahambise lento ukuthi ngicela nakho umnikazi wale ndawo umkhwena wami usehambile so khona umuntu osechamuka asangiphazamisa ngiyibona lonto leyo into engicasula kakhulu fanele ngikhokhele manje umhlaba engihlala kuwona la engizalelwe khona sibe ngifaka kuIngonyama ukuthi iyona into engicasula kakhulu nale mali yami le engayibhadarayo ngiyayifuna ngoba kwamanje ngiyahlupheka angikwazi ukukhwela phambili angikwazi ukwenza lutho sekuthiwa ngiyakweleta sebeza bayinqamula ke kumanje imali ukuthi kuthiwa ngiyikweleta akusaqhamuki lutho.
Manje baba mawucabanga usukweleta malini?
Mhlawumbe la ko 20,000 cabanga kanjalo mengase mhlawumbe siyibala mhlawumbe la ko 20,000 imali engiba oyisha bona yona Ingonyama. Mina ngiqala ukubhadara mhlawumbe ngithi ngabo 2013 yabo. So kunale minyaka mengicabanga 14 15 16 17 18 kunale minyaka e05 ngingakhokhi since ngikhokhe ngo2013 ngibuya ngisakwazi ukukhokha ngikwazanga ukukhokha ngoba ngithatha saphi le mali lokhokhela le lease le ngibe ngingatholi lutho ngale ndawo.
He alleges he was informed that his land would be used for something else if he failed to continue payments.
Bathi kumina indawo yami izothathwa kwakhiwe izindlu zemxhaso izothathwa iyodliwa lapho kwangikaze ngithi nginandaba ke uma kuthiwani sengobona khona.
In KZN, some land occupiers say they have been reduced to tenants by the Ingonyama Trust. The Ingonyama Trust manages about 2.8 million hectares of land in the province under the jurisdiction of King Goodwill Zwelithini. This makes up about 30% of the province's land. In 2007, the trust and its board began cancelling permission to occupy agreements, which are informal land rights agreements, also known as PTOs. Residents were made to enter into 40-year lease agreements instead. Nkwankwa says he has not seen any benefits.
Kaze ngithole lutho. Leli office leli lengonyama mina lingigqilazile. Ngoba manje bese ngihlele njengenyoni esihlahleni uyayibona ukuthi bazofika baxosha.
Almost 3.5 hours away is the small town of Jozini. Here, the community is also up in arms about having to pay rent to the Ingonyama Trust. I met with 57-year-old Bongani Zakhele, who owns 2 plots where his own house and a house left by his parents are located. He believes they were tricked into signing the same 40-year lease agreements in 2012 when the local headman called a community meeting.
Saphuthuma kodwa siphatha amabhasi masifika lapha neke hayi into nayethu yathi na Ingonyama Trust asijoyini ngenxa kwethemba kubukhosi phela nathi sangabuza mbuzo save sajoyina singazange sichaze ukuthi yini wena le Ingonyama Trust yabona nokuthi izosiza nganike kwayona masijoyina kuthe masesijoyinile ke sesicwalisa ama forms kwasekuthiwa ke mawufuna ukwazi uzokhokha malini fanele ngihambe usaveze nayo la ekhaya ngeza ke nosavela la wafika kubisondo kwakala ngale ngasezantsi wathi 2,000 rand ngizokhokha ngasezantsi ngonyaka uyakhula njalo about 10%.
His second plot was also measured.
Kwaqala ke manje kwase kuvela indaba ukuthi kube nama-account amabili ngezokwenza isibonela ngisho ukuthi kunjalo. Elokuqala i-account ake ngithathe ngokuthi thilindiwe esibili mhlawumbe inondomiso hayi kwangidida ke lokho mina ukuthi uma kuyingonyama trust wenza kanjani ama-account abe mabili ehlukane.
He refused to pay, but then claims he started receiving letters from the Ingonyama Trust.
Iy'ncwadi engangiyithola zathi ngiyakweleta emva kwalokho ngafonelwa ngencingo ngabatshela ngathi uma nifuna ukuthi ngixabane nani niphinde ningifonele ngizokubona ukukhulu.
He believes there are sinister motives behind the trust targeting his community.
Kunobugebengu Ingonyama Trust bahola imali eningi laba abantu akazi bafunani yini bahambe besihaba besilunguzaneni singasebenzi sihlupheka singolazaro sinje njengombona ngenjena nje ngayithatha nje imali ukhokhela imali ngasebenzi imisebenzi yethu ilahleka imihla namalanga asinamsebenzi thina bayasebenza bona badla ngathi.
This community of Jozini is under traditional leadership, and the people trust their leaders. However, Zakhele admits this can be problematic.
Phela induna eziningi bezingazazi izinto aziphenyi nezinto ukuthi njengoba abantu bama basayine lento le kuzoba siza ngani kanjani bese sibizwa ngesichazelo ukuthi cha bakwethu naye intuthu ifikile izonisiza kanje sicela sayine ibafele nje bakhulume bese belokhaneni besayinisa thina babeze nini nabasebenzi intoni ukuthi baqilaze thina.
Some local headmen in the province which we spoke to were in full support of the Ingonyama Trust and said their communities were unaffected by the rentals and PTO conversions. However, it's not just land occupiers who are affected. Those who have been living on the land all their lives and choose to run businesses say they are required to pay rent, like Ubabu Gumede. He signed a lease agreement for his business plots.
Ungiphatha kabi ukuthi njalo ngonyaka fanele kube nemali engikhokhayo endaweni vele engisalelwe kuyo, kodwa manje ngifana nesiqashi ngiyakhokha njalo ngonyaka. Yilokho ke ungenza ngazi ukuthi mangilandela futhi angitholi le mali ukuthi iyapi ingisiza kuphi mina.
He's paid 2,000 rand to the trust.
Sakhokha phela ngokwebhizinisi. Ngakhokho kokuqala ngaphinde ngakhokho kwesibili lo nyaka ophelile. Futhi kulo nyaka ke njobe kusenalokhu ke sasesima ke sathi ake sime sibone ukuthi isiphetho yini ngoba manje asichazeleki ngale ndaba yeNgonyama Trust.
He's still unclear about what he signed.
Thina abantu abadala asikwazi ukuyifundela. Babhaliwe manje abhalwe ngesilungu wathiwa ngwafunda ngathi angikwazi ukufunda isilungu. Shothi ke bathi okay sayina ke ngasayina baseke bathi hamba ufake imali lapha ku-account ahamba ngafike ngayifaka.
In November last year, the Legal Resources Centre filed an application in the Pietermaritzburg High Court on behalf of the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution, the Rural Women's Movement, and 7 informal land rights holders, including Zakhele Nkwankwa. They are challenging the conversion of permission to occupy agreements to long-term leases by the Ingonyama Trust. They argue that the Ingonyama Trust and its board acted unlawfully and violated the Constitution. They also contend that land rights and the security of tenure for residents living on tribal land are protected under the Interim Protection of Informal Land Rights Act.
In terms of that act, so you can't change someone's right without his or her consent. So what Ingonyama Trust is doing is illegal because people, they did not consent.
Mbence says the affected residents have been given a raw deal.
In terms of the lease agreement that they are signing, there's a clause which is saying that whatever structure is on that land, then whenever you vacate that land, then the structure will belong to Ingonyama Trust. So there's that clause in the lease agreement that they are signing. So it's bad. And some of them, they were just occupying big piece of land. So as a result of the conversion, they had to reduce that piece of land because they can't afford to pay for that big piece of land.
Kasich says the trust has received close to R500 million over the years, but these figures are based on the annual reports of the trust's board. It's impossible to say how true these figures are because the board has failed to account properly to Parliament.
King Zwelithini is the sole trustee of the Ingonyama Trust. The board that is appointed is there to assist him in administering the trust. And the board, the 8 members of the board are actually appointed by the Minister of Rural Development and Land Reform, obviously in consultation with the King. but they are appointed and the administrative expenses of the trust are borne by the national department. So if any money that is raised by the trust cannot be said to be being used for the administration of the trust, because that is covered by national government. So the hundreds of millions of rands that have been raised by the trust over the last 8 or 9 years has been totally unaccounted for.
In November 2017, a high-level panel appointed under the leadership of former President Zakhele Nkwankwa declared the Ingonyama Trust Act unconstitutional and recommended that it be repealed or amended to protect existing customary land rights. Dr. Aninka Claessens from the Land and Accountability Research Center was part of this panel.
The high-level panel held public hearings, and in those public hearings, people came forward and they said the Ingonyama Trust is taking our land and it's leasing it out to mining companies. It's not negotiating with us, it's not getting our consent. The next thing we see bulldozers on the job, and we go to the Department of Traditional Affairs, we go to the chiefs, we say who's given these people permission, and it turns out that it's the Ingonyama Trust.
The high-level panel's report, as well as the ANC's plans to expropriate land without compensation, elicited a negative response from the king.
Ngifisa ukuphawula ngokuhlaselwa kweIngonyama Trust kanye nebhodi lami. Lokho akudingi kuhlotshiswa ngoba yimpi esobala okumele siyiphendule singesabi. Ibizwa njalo ibhodi yami mageba lapha la eCape Town. Iyodikwa. Dikwe idike behlisa isithunzi abantu abadala zingane. Angazi ukuthi uhulumeni angasiza kanjani ukuthi akakathi uyicontrola le ndaba yale portfolio committee yezomhlaba.
In the case of the Ingonyama, basically the government backed off when the king threatened warfare. And I think that is what the trust has relied on always. It's operating, it's running a scheme that is manifestly unlawful and manifestly dispossesses people. The king has said that he is at risk of having his land expropriated from him without compensation. That disguises the fact that this land belongs to the state. He's just a trustee, and he even went to court in a case against the Interim municipality to argue that the trust shouldn't pay rates and taxes because the land is state-owned. So for him to talk about his land being expropriated perpetuates the myth that it's his land, which of course he is repeated all the time. People must pay rent to me because I own the land. So he's tried to say that when people challenge his unlawful actions, they're threatening him with expropriation without compensation. Really doesn't make sense.
KwaZulu-Natal Premier Willie Mchunu announced during his budget vote for the 2018-2019 financial year that Zwelithini's annual budget had been increased by 7 million rands, meaning he would get almost 66 million rands. According to a Windeed search, the king is also an active director in 19 companies. Claessens says part of the proceeds from the trust also go to him.
The Auditor General has found, and even the Ingonyama Trust's annual reports show, that a minuscule proportion of the money is going back into the communities. Most of it's going into the expansion of the Ingonyama Trust administrative process and also into support and payments to the king. So they justify it by saying that the money that the state provides the Ingonyama Trust with to administer the land is too little, and therefore they need to raise their own revenue, and the only way that they can raise their own revenue is by getting people to basically pay them rent.
In 2018, the Auditor General gave the Ingonyama Trust an adverse audit for failing to provide supporting documents to account for land to the value of 1 billion rands.
And for the report...
So the Auditor General has put this problem before the committee, and the committee, to give them credit, have got more and more frustrated with the Ingonyama Trust. And finally, towards the beginning of last year, the chairperson of the committee ordered the chairperson of the trust to stop advertising these leases and to stop issuing these leases.
Did he comply?
Not at all. He left all the adverts up on the website.
We addressed a letter to Ingonyama Trust telling them that was wrong. So unfortunately, we're also calling them to withdraw those notices. But unfortunately, they did not respond to our letter. They did not respond to our letter. We also addressed another letter reminding them of our first letter and also saying that they must just comply. So they ignored even that one.
Part of the remedy we're seeking is that the trust and the board will have to report back to the courts on a regular basis and the progress that has been made in restoring people's rights, because we do not have any faith in either the National Department or Parliament to oversee those processes. So we're saying that the courts need to oversee the implementation of the court order that we seek.
Areas where people have a slightly different identity have been targeted. So areas where the people are Hlubi or Tembe or from the Amantuli group. So it's actually been used as a way of kind of subjugating people who sort of on the fringes of the sort of Zulu identity. So it doesn't apply throughout KwaZulu-Natal. It's still in a minority of cases. And I think that the trust must be forced to reimburse people for the rent that they've paid.
The King's spokesperson referred us to the chairperson of the Trust's board, Judge Jerome Ngwenya.
Yeah, ngakhulumela isilo, but not in kwezinto ezirelated neNgonyama Trust. Ukhona ukukhulumela isilo on that.
But Ngwenya would not be drawn into the allegations.
Oh, so anikwazi ukuthi nikhulume ngalo njengamanje.
So bese sithethe icala enkantolo siyazi ukuthi bathina abantu ukuthi bangakhi nokuthi kuyiqiniso kanjani sicabanga ukuthi ngoba udaba balishe enkantolo inkantolo ezosinikeza ithuba lokulalela hayi imedia njengoba nje nawe wenza manje ukuthi sesophuthuma ingathi baqala manje ama-PTO into endala kade yasikredwa ngokomthetho.
Cha, mina ngifisa ukuthi imali yami ibuye ngoba Ingonyama yona ithi umhlaba wayo wakwaZulu awukhokhelwa.
Kodwa mina ngesingami bengathi Ingonyama Trust ayihoxe. Uma kusho ukuthi ayihoxe ke abayekele umuntu ngabe isile sophatha umhlaba nohulumeni. Umhlaba unengwe thina abanikazi bomhlaba. Thina kube yithina esitshela isilo ukuthi sifuna senzeni.